Couples get into arguments with each other. Usually, each person is triggered in a different way, and the way that triggers interact with each other just escalates things. So, for instance, you may come home and you're looking for some connection with your partner, and they're watching their favorite show on TV. So you feel lonely and maybe angry that they're not talking to you. And you express that by shutting the kitchen cabinets a little bit too hard, which triggers them in feeling unsafe. So they pull away more, which makes you angrier, which gets them to pull away more. So you've got this escalating cycle that involves two people. Couples always get very interested in who started it, but that's not so much the issue as how it keeps going, how you each perpetrate it. So don't get too involved in looking at the other person's contribution and look more at the circular nature of it. So there are two parts to it. One is the system, how you each exacerbate old wounds. And the second part is the individual sensitivities that interact with your couple sensitivities. So in our example here, for instance, you escalate it on two sides. One side by getting angrier, and the other side by getting more removed. So the angrier one person becomes, the more removed the other becomes, the angrier the first person becomes. And it just keeps escalating, and it's very hard to get out of, because your response is in some ways a sane response to the other person being difficult and defensive and protective. The way people defend themselves in these kind of cycles is usually based on old injuries. So if you grew up in an environment where people were angry and it was scary, then you're going to superimpose that emotionally laden image from the past onto your present environment. And it's going to scare you, and you're going to naturally pull away. You will often have gotten together with a partner who has injuries of abandonment, so that when you pull away, it pulls up that emotionally laden file from their past, and then they become triggered and upset at you, and then it works together in this folie à deux, hand-in-hand kind of pattern. So you can get a step ahead of these patterns by first naming the kinds of patterns that you get into and how they work together. Because if you can do that in a collaborative way, you'll be out of the adversarial nature of the cycle. And the second part of the process is to look at the individual wounds and begin to unwind them, because they really hurt, and they need attention, and people often enter into long-term relationships hoping that they'll get the kind of attention that they didn't get when they were younger. So that gives you a little bit of method for how to approach these cycles outside of a therapeutic situation, but that might be helpful in beginning to unwind them.